Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Worcester City Council held this Monday, February 7th, 2022. We are live in council chambers and live streamed on YouTube. It's after 7:30 p.m. Because of the celebration of President's Day, the next meeting will be on a Tuesday, February 22nd, 2022, and if memory serves me correct, that's actually George Washington's birthday. Mr. Paulo, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Cavan.
Here.
Ms. Knappich.
Present.
Mr. Myers.
Here.
Mr. Reynolds.
Here.
Mr. Sanders.
Here.
Mr. Silvestri. We assume he's going to be
We
late.
assume we'll be here. He still might be asking his brief question of Mr. Sharon there during the joint hospital council meeting we had before this.
And Ms. Warden.
Here.
Well, we do have a quorum. The agenda will remain as presented. And at this time, I ask that you stand and join the members of the City Council in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it seems like a lifetime ago, but we need to approve the minutes of January 3rd, 2022, so I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Sanders, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Knappich. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. The minutes of January 3rd, 2022 are approved. Mayor, welcome. And I have to commend the city for doing a great job of digging us out after our second major snow event, but I can't say I appreciate the Arctic Wonderland look that the city of Worcester has now adopted.
Absolutely, but thank you for your kind comments about our team.
Fine job.
I would agree wholeheartedly with that statement. So, my apologies for staying seated tonight, but I've got some things I want to hold up and show folks, so I figured that it'd be a lot easier and more expedient to stay here in the seat. First off, nice to see everybody again. Sorry we had vacation of one council meeting, but we really didn't have any business to bring forward at that point in time. So the charter amendment allows us to cancel the meeting, and that's what we ended up doing at our last one. So some great news. We haven't had lots of that in this past year or so, so it's so much fun to have great news. Just Friday evening, Polycom, who you've heard that name before, it's a rating group for economic development, came out with their 2022 ratings, and lo and behold, the city of Worcester won #1 in the state of Ohio as far as economic development, according to Polycom's national ratings.
Congratulations.
So that's quite a statement for us, especially in COVID times when there really hasn't been a lot of economic development movement going on. Of the ratings, if I get to the right page here, which I'm not going to be able to do. Polycom rates 543 micropolitan areas in the United States. And of that, the city of Worcester and Worcester Micropolitan ranked number 14 in the nation. So very, very high honors. Now, that's the same ranking we actually had last year. And so it's really a true shot in the arm for our economic development teams and the expansions that's happening in our ranks. So hopefully you'll see more about that in the coming days as the news starts to bubble out. We do have it on our website if anyone wants to see it, and also on Facebook. And those features. So that's the fun news. It's so nice to be able to say such good things about our community and moving it forward. Next, I wanted to thank and congratulate our crews for all of the efforts, both in the plowing and cleanup, but also our fire and the police crews that have to get out and still handle all the emergencies as time goes on. And they had to fight through that snowstorm also. So I'm very pleased with the reaction by our whole team. I needed to ask council, I thought I had done it before, but Lynn says that did not happen. I would like to suggest Tuesday, February 22nd, starting at 6:30 p.m. to do my State of the City address to City Council. And I just wanted to get any feedback if that would be a good time and date to do that for council members, and or if there are any problems, let me know. Or President Bike-Dyke, as far as you're concerned, are we?
Yeah, let's go with that, and those
Okay.
that can attend, can attend.
That's 1 hour prior to the meeting, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. All right, well then we will set that as February 22nd, starting at 6:30 p.m. in council chambers here. Also, Joel sent out an email to council members with an update to our council guidebook. You might have seen this at one point in time. This was something that's been around for quite a few decades, actually. Dan Whitmore had done it years ago. 1995, I think, is the first one, so back in the late 80s or early 90s. So wanted you to see this, and if you don't have a copy, I think he attached a copy to the email that came out. If you need it printed, let us know and we can do that. But we've also been floating the idea of doing a council retreat at some point in time. So if council would like to think about whether that might be a good thing, I think Joel's email actually touched on that. And we would love to maybe do some visioning type of retreat with council and see how we can do things better, how we can make our city better. Are there things that we're doing that we need to change or alter? So if you would think about that and get back to us as far as whether we should pursue this and move forward. Probably sometime later this spring is one of the thoughts as far as the timing on it. We would possibly use someone to sort of host or be the group in charge of guiding the discussion. So, and I know Joel's got a couple that he's talked to if we would want to move forward. So let us know on that. Since our last meeting, I've had the pleasure of meeting with Sarah Bolton, the president of the College of Worcester, and discussing how things are going with the college, and also to express our appreciation to her for her time as president at the college. She will be moving on this summer out to Washington State and in a new position out there. So it was a very nice conversation. We also had the opportunity, our city team did, to meet with Representative Anthony Gonzalez's team to hear about national programs that might be helpful to our city. So they gave us some ideas as far as grants that might be out there that we could utilize to help in some infrastructure things. So we're finding out more about that. I'd like to thank the volunteer members of the Equalization Board for helping through a citizen panel to establish fair assessments for the Melrose Drive project. Jolene Dyer, Jennifer Reynolds, and Rob Kastner were the three members of the panel, and that you will have that to decide on this evening on your agenda.
First reading.
And finally, I'd like to thank Jonathan Millay and Joel Montgomery for all their hard work in putting together the tax incremental financing, or TIF incentive district that is in front of you this evening. Our team's been working on this incentive for over a year, and it's finally ready to present to council. So you'll be hearing more about that. In fact, I'm sure Jonathan will have much to say tonight about explaining. He's done a world of work. In fact, this is the start of the notebook. I figured I'd better get a pretty good size one because all the information that goes along with putting together a TIF district. So that is my whole presentation tonight. So
And
thank
we
you,
should
President.
note that Mr. Montgomery's here doing his best imitation of Max Headroom, for those that are old enough to remember that. Anyways, welcome, Joel.
Thank you, President Bitendike.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, we have three liquor permit petitions. If you would read the first one that you listed, Ms. DiPaolo, which was the Cigar Vault LLC.
Sure. From the Ohio Division of Liquor Control, the Cigar Vault LLC, doing business as the Cigar Vault at 601 Portage Road, Worcester, Ohio, 44691. They're looking for a permit class D3.
All right, our options are to request a hearing here in Worcester, since we're the county seat, have a hearing down in Columbus, or waive the hearing on the application. Any thoughts?
I would motion to waive hearing.
All right, two at once. Mr. Cavan, since we missed him at the last meeting, I'll move to waive the hearing, and Mr. Sanders seconded it. Any discussion? These are pretty perfunctory. Seeing none, would you please call the roll on the motion to waive hearing?
Cavan,
Yes.
Knappich,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Sanders.
Yes.
Silvestri.
Yes.
And Warden. Yes.
Okay, if you would notify them down at the Department of Liquor Control, we waive the hearing. Appreciate it, Ms. DiPaolo. And we got two petitions from the Meyer store, so if you'd read the first one.
Meyer Stores LP, doing business as Meyer Store, 330 4845 Burbank Road, Worcester, Ohio, 44691, looking for a C1 and a C2.
All right. Again, our options is to have a hearing here in Worcester, have one in Columbus, or waive a hearing.
Question, why are they
I don't see
asking
any
for two separate liquor permits?
There's two different addresses, so I'm not sure why, but they came from the liquor control, so.
I guess Mr. Kobelarsek can weigh in
One's
on
probably the
that.
gas station.
The gas station? Okay.
I figured that.
All right, that makes sense.
So you can get fuel for your car and fuel up yourself, I guess.
Motion to waive hearing. Motion to waive a hearing.
Okay. Motion to waive hearing by Mr. Myers. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Warden.
I have another female voice to contend with now, so it's hard to say.
Yeah, and I can't see people's mouths move with a mask, so, so anyways, would, any discussion? Seeing none, would you please call the roll on the motion to waive hearing?
Cavan,
Yes.
Knappich.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Sanders.
Yes.
Silvestri.
Yes.
And Warden.
Yes,
And likewise, would you please notify them that we waived having any sort of hearing? Finally, the last one, which, as we had stated earlier, is also an application by Meyer.
Meyer Stores LP, doing business as Meyer Express, 330 4905 Burbank Road, Worcester, Ohio, 44691.
Okay, again, our options is request a hearing here in Worcester, request a hearing in Columbus, or waive having a hearing. What's your pleasure?
Motion to waive hearing.
Motion to waive hearing by Mr. Silvestri. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Ms. Knappich. Any other discussion? Seeing none, would you please call the roll on the motion to waive hearing?
Cavan,
Yes.
Knappich,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Sanders.
Yes.
Silvestri.
Yes.
And Warden.
Yes.
Okay, again, Ms. DiPaolo, would you please let Department of Liquor Control, we've waived this, a hearing on this permit application. We have, 4 people have signed up to speak on the TIF. The first one is Doug Druschel. If you want to come to the lectern and make sure that the microphone's on by pressing the on.
I'm pretty sure it's on.
Thank you. Doug Derschel, 225 North Market Street. We won't take very much of your time, just a very brief word in support of the TIF legislation. I'm working with the group developing the infield farm, what I call it, Wakefield property. But it's important to understand that it's not just that property. There's quite a large area to the north of that included. The school property is included. There's some area adjacent to the school property, touches Burbank Road that's included. And it really is going to be, I hope, a crack in the dam of economic or residential development in Worcester and Wayne County. Don't have to tell you, there's a severe problem with housing in Worcester right now. Every employer I work with complains about they can't find people to work here, number one. Number two, those that want to work here can't find a place to live. So anything that helps move that along is going to be good for everybody, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Druschel. Next individual is Justin Starlin.
Justin Starlin, 1825 Enterprise Parkway. Echo kind of what Doug had hit on, the economic development plan that Jonathan and his team, Joel, the mayor, all the effort that went into the plan that's presented to you tonight. Really a shot in the arm at the Oak Hill and Milltown area, opening up opportunities for private investment, of which there's a group of local citizens, engaged citizens that are obviously looking to do residential development in that area. Without support from a TIF or the plan that is in front of you, projects that you'll see hopefully this spring wouldn't be viable options for the community. So very important component in front of you tonight. And the TIF hopefully is a tool that can be used not only now, but in years to come to support private investment. So thank you for your support and consideration tonight.
Thank you. Samira Zimmerly.
Samira Zimmerly, and I'm here tonight representing the Worcester Area Chamber of Commerce. It's no secret that housing is an issue in our community. It's a conversation we've been having for the past several years. And representing over 700 local businesses here in the community, I will echo the fact that workforce is a serious issue. And we continue to hear that companies that are bringing in people for job opportunities are looking outside of Wayne County for housing because they can't find anything here. So they consider them flight risks. So this project and other housing projects are extremely important to our community. So we appreciate the city working on the proposal. We appreciate the local community members that are engaged putting together this project, and we appreciate your consideration.
And last but not least, Adam Briggs.
I'll pass. I've got nothing else to add. Agree with all the previous comments.
All right, well, thank you for coming in. Okay, we have no committee reports or public hearings. No unfinished business, so we'll go right into new business. And our first piece of legislation is resolution number 2022-04. It's going to be presented by Ms. Warden. It is slated for 3 readings. Before I get to you, Ms. Warden, Ms. DiPaolo, would you please read the title of the resolution?
Resolution number 2022-04. A resolution approving the report of the Assessment Equalization Board on objections concerning the estimated special assessments for the Melrose Drive reconstruction project and allowing for immediate enactment.
Ms. Warden, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Beitendijk. So recently, the City Council appointed an Assessment Equalization Board to hear and make determinations on objections to the estimated assessments for improvements that are associated with what we are calling the Melrose Drive reconstruction project. This board was made up of 3 volunteer community members who were sworn in before their meeting. They held a public meeting on January 19th to hear the objections, and there was one resident that addressed the board that meeting. After careful consideration, the board found that any objections that were made were without merit and therefore have determined that the adjustments to the original assessment estimates are not warranted. The resolution is simply a formal acceptance of the Equalization Board's decision. It's not up to council to rehash these. For anyone who is perhaps wondering if we were in agreement, all we are doing is accepting the board's decision this evening. Therefore, I move to suspend the rules and place this on third and final reading tonight.
All right, motion by Ms. Warden to suspend the rules. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Cavan. Would you please call the roll on the motion to suspend the rules?
Knappich,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Sanders,
Yes.
Silvestri,
Yes.
Warden,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
and Cavan.
Yes.
Okay, the rules are suspended. I turn to you again, Ms. Warden.
I move to adopt.
Motion to adopt by Ms. Warden. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Cavan. Any discussion, questions? We've had equalization boards before. It's the opportunity for, as Ms. Warden pointed out, have a property owner object if they feel that it's not accurate or is unfair. And we have 3 members who own land here in the city to act as the deciding factor on whether or not the objections have merit. And apparently, they have determined none of them had merit. So seeing nothing further, would you please call the roll on the motion to adopt?
Knappich,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Sanders,
Yes.
Silvestri,
Yes.
Warden,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
and Cavan.
Yes.
Resolution number 2022-04 passes. We now have ordinance number 2022-01. It'll be presented by Ms. Knappich. It is slated for 3 readings. But Mr. Paulo, would you please read the title before I turn it over to Ms. Knappich?
Ordinance number 2022-01. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a permanent easement for an encroachment upon the public right-of-way and allowing for immediate enactment.
Ms. Knappich, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. This is an ordinance where E&H Hardware, which is going to be located in the Quinby Building at 115 South Market Street, wants to construct a propane cage. I think probably most of you are familiar with that when you go to get your propane for your barbecues and those kinds of things. They're usually in a cage that you have to purchase them from. And actually, this is going to be Ace Hardware going into this building. And there, you have in your packets, you have the photographs and a diagram where this proposed propane cage would go. It's in the alleyway between, it's called South Alley, and it's between the Quinby Building and the McClure Buildings. It seems to be a pretty cut and dried issue. Nothing very contentious about it, I don't think. Oh, we lost Joel. He's no longer Max Headroom. I was going to ask him to ring in here, but.
He's there.
Okay, there he is. Joel, is there anything that you, is there any emergency for this, or there any need to put this through on an emergency basis other than just to get things moving quickly? I know that usually, or you know that usually I don't do things on the first reading. And since we're looking at a propane cage, which on the one hand is pretty innocuous, on the other hand, I don't know if anybody has any objections to it. I haven't heard anything from anyone. Would you please weigh in and let us know, council, know your thoughts? Joel?
I'm sorry, was there a question to me?
I'm sorry, you know how long-winded I am anyhow. So I was just wondering, on the one hand, this seems to be a fairly innocuous issue, putting a propane cage between two buildings and attached to a hardware store, and the fire department seems to have no issues with it. Is there any reason why we need to put this through on an emergency basis? Or can we keep it on first reading and then pass it next meeting? And he's frozen. I'm going to keep this on first reading, just if anyone in the public has an issue and is concerned about having the propane cages downtown.
I would say Mr. Bueller is here in the audience. If
Oh,
you have
okay.
questions for,
Yes, absolutely. Is there reason, do we need to put this through on an emergency basis today? Or can we hold it open so if there's any comment whatsoever, we do usually like to have any comment come through that we can vote on it on the next meeting?
Sure. My only request would be that we plan on opening March 4th, and it does take a little bit of time to get that cage in there.
Okay.
So it would be convenient for us if we could have it open. So that would be my only request to do it today.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bueller. Are you there?
It should be.
Are you there, Joel?
Mr. Kobelarzik,
We've done
You have
this in
something,
several other occasions, like in front of the steakhouse. There was the awning there was encroaching on the right-of-way. And the sidewalk, the ramp over by the, on Burbank, Buckeye Street with Gianotto's, same type of thing, encroachment on the right-of-way. So it's not really the first time we've done this or anything.
Actually, the encroachment doesn't concern me at all. It's just a matter of having the propane
Okay.
cage and propane tanks there downtown. Mr. Silvestri?
Ms. Knappich, I was going to say, initially when I saw the proposal, before I saw the layout, I had a few concerns because I know there are vehicles that still utilize that area of roadway. But after looking at the drawings, the Quinby building has the two parts that encroach anyway, and this cage would not go beyond that. So there's already, and it doesn't limit, there's still the 19.1 feet as outlined in the drawing. So given the handicap ramp and then further down the entry stairs to the front corner of the Quinby building, I'm okay with it. Like I said, at first glance, I thought there might be some concerns, but I think it's well shielded and protected between those two jut outs of the building footprint. So thank you.
Mr. Bueller, has, with respect to, do you know if there are any deliveries made through that alley?
Well, no, a portion of it. You can't fit a large truck underneath the bridge, so just a small portion of it, but it wouldn't be in that area where the propane tanks are.
Okay.
Because it's beyond that bridge at that point.
Ms. Knappich, I tend to agree with keeping things on first reading when they're rights and things of public properties. I don't think on this one, though, that it's necessary, and it seems as though in order for the efficiency of business and for the business to go forward, it might be prudent to go ahead and pass it. That it doesn't seem like it's going to make a lot of difference, and I don't think there's going to be any issues with it in 2 weeks, but that's just my opinion.
And I would just remind everyone that, and basically any gas station that you go to has a propane cage. I know the old hardware store downtown used to have a propane cage. The company I work for has a propane cage outside of its drive-through where vehicles are right there. So I think it's something that the public is used to, relatively speaking, so.
Okay. Well, this was the only one that I was aware of it being downtown, so that was my only concern. But based upon the comments that I've heard, I will move to suspend the rules.
All right, a motion to suspend the rules by Ms. Knappich. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Myers.
Move to
Mr.
adopt.
Paulo, would you please call the roll to suspend the rules?
Myers,
Yes.
Sanders,
Yes.
Silvestri.
Yes.
Warden,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Cavan,
Yes.
and Knappich.
Yes,
Rules are suspended. Ms. Knappich.
move to adopt.
Motion to adopt by Ms. Knappich. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Silvestri. Any further discussion?
I don't really have any discussion other than to thank Mr. Bueller for what the wonderful work they're doing in our downtown, and thank you very much for what you and your family are doing. It's going to be a great addition to downtown.
And for the public's reference, who might be watching this on YouTube or seeing it later, this is the old building where everything Rubbermaid used to be in. So unless you were here around the turn of the century, and I meant the
Annett Building?
19th century.
William Annett Building?
Yeah, the Quinby Building is probably foreign to you, so
It
anyway.
does say Quinby right up on the
Yeah, I know, but how many people read those? So anyways, just for their frame of reference. Seeing nothing else, would you please call the roll on the motion to adopt?
Myers,
Yes.
Sanders,
Yes.
Silvestri.
Yes.
Warden,
Yes,
Reynolds,
Yes.
Cavan,
Yes.
Knappich.
yes.
Ordinance number 2022-01 passes. Good luck with your opening, and it'll be a wonderful addition to downtown. So appreciate it, Mr. Bueller. We have, the next item is ordinance number 2022-02. It'll be presented by Mr. Reynolds. It is slated for 3 readings. If you would, Ms. DiPaolo, please read the title.
Ordinance number 2022-02, adopting the Oak Hill Tax Incremental Financing Incentive District Economic Development Plan as a guide for future economic development and in support of a tax increment financing district and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Reynolds, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Beitendijk. The mayor and Mr. Druschel and the rest have already given you a preview of this. And again, my hat's off to the administration for their diligence in putting this together. This is not the first attempt at this, but they came back and went back to work and sharpened the pencils and found a Plan B. And I'm very excited about this opportunity for the city, for the schools, for the business community. It addresses some outstanding problems that I would submit that we probably ought to be talking about outside of the issues of development. The Oak Hill Road improvements, the Milltown Road improvements, the intersections there at Milltown and Oak Hill and Oldman and Oak Hill. Those things we should have been addressing probably previously. And I know there's a reason they didn't. They're expensive. They've got $2.1 million in here earmarked for the Oldman Oak Hill roundabout, $4.6 million for the Oak Hill Milltown roundabout plus street improvements. And the TIF is going to enable us to put those badly needed improvements into place without pulling it out of the general fund. And as taxpayers, you say, well, what do I care? Well, that general fund money is going to come out of your pockets one way or the other sooner. And this way, it's going to be financed through the TIF, which means that the growth in tax revenues is going to be pulled out, set aside, and used to reimburse the city for the cost of these improvements. The nice thing about, or I'll go beyond nice, the great thing about this project is that as opposed to improving one residential development or one site, it's really opening up access to that whole area of the city with improvements that serve everybody up there. And a big part of that is the sanitary sewer extension that's going to take place. That's probably been the key thing that has held back development up there. That's necessary for the residential developers. It's necessary for the schools to go forward with their master plan that they've been working on these last couple of years. And the schools have to be a partner in this because they are giving up a portion of their tax revenue, but not all, to make these things come into place. But and the schools will have to act on this independently, but I think they are excited about this as well because this is a key to them moving forward with the things they want to do. So I would encourage anybody that's got interest in the details to take the time to go through the economic development plan. As Mr. Druschel and Samira and Justin mentioned, this is the key to opening up residential development in that area. There are 91 units ready to go when this goes into place, or 91 building sites. On top of that, the acreage is spelled out, and I'll pull it out of there. I think we have something like 120 additional acres that are going to be opened up for residential development as a result of this. Now, that doesn't translate immediately into housing units, but it makes it a possibility, because before, without the sanitary sewer extensions, that was not financially feasible. Nobody was going to go in and build on those properties without sewer being available, either immediately available or reasonably available, and that makes this all possible. Now, I know there's going to be some in the community who say, well, this isn't the housing portion that we're concerned with. This isn't the housing niche that we should be most concerned with. But housing is like anything else where when you've got a shortage, it affects everybody in the whole supply chain. And we've done a pretty good job as a community over the last 20 years of taking out the housing at the lower end that has really become unfit for people to live in. And you're probably all familiar with the ways that's been done. But as a result, that and the lack of building spaces has really tightened up the overall housing market for everybody. So putting in a bunch of housing at this level is going to ease that demand across the board. So that's my hope. Jonathan, I'm sorry, but since the mayor talked so much, Mr. Druschel talked, I had to talk some before I turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. Really, I don't have too much else to add. I think, Mr. Reynolds, you summarized it quite well. This is a planning document that we're looking to seek approval on. It is only a plan. However, it's something that we should only proceed with if we're ready to move forward with the scope of events that we outlined that would follow. This is at the end of the day, this is an opportunity to fund major public infrastructure projects that we've been wanting to fund for quite some time, but have not been able to secure grant funding for that. And I'll also point out that the largest portion of this project where there's concern being the roundabout proposed for Oak Hill and West Milltown is not even in city limits today. However, this particular program of financing would create the ability to finance that using revenues that can be created from projects that otherwise will not materialize without the public infrastructure. So again, as Mr. Reynolds had pointed out, this is about being able to leverage future development and use that instead of reaching into the pocketbooks of taxpayers to facilitate these projects. We can use future revenues to make that happen. So it's a pretty unique tool. It is a collaboration, if it's to move forward, that requires the participation of the Wayne County Commissioners who are aware of this project, the Worcester City School District, who is participating also in land to make this happen. And of course the City of Worcester, which is going to be leading the project, and then private development. In our economic development plan, we talk about a base analysis in terms of what the minimum financial impacts we expect would be. And then what we anticipate the finances would most likely be at a minimal level, and then more of a reasonably hoped for scenario where we would see potentially a total of 3 different projects that could launch from this. And depending on how that comes to fruition, in any case, the TIF should be able to recover its revenues. as another safeguard, the infrastructure projects are phased. The first phase is the sanitary sewer extension, which would be fully 100% financially guaranteed through the real estate development. And as that becomes successful and we can better gauge the financial ability of the project to produce the revenues that we need, we can then move on to phase 2, which would be construction of the Oak Hill and Oldman roundabout. And from there, leveraging future development, we would be able to have enough funding to facilitate the roundabout at West Milltown. This would be a roughly 27-year plan. If nothing but the proposed housing development occurs, the funds, it would take roughly about 27 years to recover those expenses. Even in that scenario, we spend a lot of our time here with economic development trying to work with grants. And I can say that this is truly probably one of the best grant opportunities that we could ever hope for in terms of being able to leverage development to make this infrastructure happen. And as we detail in the report today, these are not the most dangerous intersections in the city, but they are intersections of concern where we've had continual incidents of crashes, a lot of them involving students, and it's something that we want to address. And the City of Worcester has partnered with Wayne County to secure funding and actually was approved for funding to repair or to install a roundabout at West Milltown. Only there was no funding available by the time that our project came up. The reason being is that unfortunately, these funds are prioritized to intersections based on severity starting with fatalities. So fortunately, thank goodness, we've not had fatalities there, nor do we want that. But for that reason, for the foreseeable future, grant pursuits will not be very successful at that intersection, whereas this is a mechanism that we can be able to leverage and make plans to improve that. Again, this would be several years out before that project would take place. Again, there are safeguards set here so that the City of Worcester is not expending funding until it has some security that it will be able to recover those costs. If anybody has any questions, we're happy to. Yes, sir.
Well, I think it's important to point out, we're not approving any projects. We're just approving a blueprint, so to speak, for this area to allow people to apply for the TIF. So it's actually establishing kind of a paradigm where here's what you need to provide to be considered for the TIF financing. So that this is not saying, okay, we're adopting and approving any plans for this area. We're just adopting, here's a economic development tool that's available to developers, and if you fit the criteria, then you know, there's going to be some synergy and partnership in terms of how to do the infrastructure improvements. And but at the moment, no project is being endorsed other than this is the plan that we think works for this area.
Correct. Now with adoption of this, we will be moving to with solidifying agreements with developers. We would be moving toward a plan of action to commit to projects, but that would be.
We're not committed to any projects by adopting this.
Correct.
What I'm
yes.
trying to point out.
Yes. So that there would next follow a agreement with each individual developer. One we have committed today. Others could follow in the future. So, there would be adoption of individual development agreements There would also be adoption of an agreement with the Worcester City School District. There would also be an annexation petition that's a part of this as well. And then there would also be the adoption and creation of the actual TIF incentive district after all of those elements would fall into line. And additionally, for the sanitary sewer, which had been budgeted earlier, just before the start of this year, the idea would be to have commitments in place prior to having that bid out. But this allows us to move forward, and we'd come back in over the next few months to move forward on those other pieces.
Mr. Belay, thank you so much for that summary. Thank you also for the correspondence over email that you have provided the council in recent months with respect to the building blocks of this. I guess I thought that maybe the district boundaries were included in the economic development plan. Is that true or no?
The suggested boundaries are, so the way that we describe it within the plan is the max boundaries that it can be.
Okay.
So there's flexibility built into this. Not all of these parcels may be included ultimately. However, with the current trajectory, we would anticipate that they would. And we've highlighted which pieces would be absolutely necessary. That's based on revenue generation and also the placement of the public infrastructure. So you see the Worcester City School District campus. Obviously, that's a tax-exempt facility, but that's where a lot of the infrastructure would be occurring. So that's included as well.
I saw some of that in your memorandum, but you did not forward the final plan to council, right? But it is on file with the clerk, is that true?
You received it January 19th.
Okay, so that, okay.
And
Like I said, I remember seeing that. I didn't know if that was the draft or if that was the final.
In fairness, we had it set as a draft to go out
That's what I
for
thought.
comments, and there have been no changes to that draft
Okay.
at this point.
Okay.
And happy to give anybody a paper copy too, if that's helpful. Please let me know, and I'll have that prepared at the end here.
Jonathan, this is just a schedule of dates of things that have to accomplish for this to take place. And might want to remind everyone that the first phase with regard to the sewer upgrades and things does two things. It supports the housing development that's already being slated and going forward. I think we have some representatives here from that development this evening. It also solves a septic sewer problem that the school system's currently experiencing. So they're going to get a benefit right out of the first phase because they've got some expense and a problem that they currently have that this is going to solve. So
Correct.
that all gets taken care of in the first section. The rest of it is nice things that we hope to have going forward, but the first piece gets taken care of right away.
Correct. Well, thank you very much for your time and
Thank you.
consideration.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Hey, Bob.
So I assume you're going to keep this on first readings to let
That's
us
correct.
digest it and maybe,
I would think we'll have some comments from the community and
right.
see what happens second reading.
Okay, well, thank you.
President Bitendike, if I could.
Sure, Mayor.
I just want to point out to council, in your packets is a schedule of events. And as you see, Jonathan has detailed it down to the type of calendar that it needs to happen to get this accomplished. There are 30-day and 45-day waiting periods between individual steps and events. The last one is shown by May 17th. If everything would go according to his scope. So if we get a delay in there for any reason, we'll be into the summer break of council, is what I'm trying to say. So we really would like to try to keep this moving, but take the time you need as a council to decide if this is a step in the right direction for our city. And I believe it is. And we have done TIF in the past. Long Road was a TIF for our city. but the rules of TIFs have changed immensely since Long Road happened. So please take time to educate yourself, utilize Jonathan as a resource. He's probably one of the more knowledgeable people in the state of Ohio on TIFs. But we'll help in any way. But I just wanted to show you there is sort of a plan that if we can stay with that, we'll keep the wheels on this bus. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Reynolds, I agree with the mayor. One of the things, I think we're approving a schedule of dates for a sequence of events that have to happen for this. We will really have a bigger chance to dive into the guts of this at the February 7th meeting. So really, we're not doing anything today other than saying that the dates that's been put forward as to when these things will happen, we're approving that schedule. And I think, Jonathan, if we delay till the next meeting, we're going to resubmit this ordinance with new dates.
No, that's provided just as what the earliest frames would
Okay,
be.
so we could still make this happen if we wait 2 weeks?
I beg your pardon?
We could still work with this as is if we wait 2 weeks?
Yes.
Okay.
And,
That was my question. That was my question.
in all fairness, we've had this since the 19th of January, so.
This is just the schedule.
All right, well,
And as long as it's not time sensitive, and part of the reason that I'm in favor of waiting at least one more meeting is that this is a big deal. This is no offense towards the Bueller's gas tank cage, but
I said it was relatively innocuous.
I think this is a very big deal, and I don't want anybody to think otherwise. And now, I would say, let's come prepared next meeting and have a vote.
and I think that's what we're saying is come prepared to hash this out, and you're going in all likelihood, propose that it be passed that evening, if that's what the consensus is. All right. We'll consider ordinance number 2022-02 as having its first reading. Brings us to resolution number 2022-05. It'll be presented by Mr. Sanders, and it is a budgeted item, so will not require 3 readings. Before we get to Mr. Sanders, Mr. Paula, would you read the title of the resolution?
Resolution number 2022-05. A resolution authorizing the Director of Finance to issue for payment to the Wayne County Commissioners for the prosecution of municipal ordinances by the Wayne County Prosecutor and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Sanders, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. As this has been presented to us this evening, this was part of our budget that we passed for the city for 2022. And what we have is in 2021, the fee structure that we paid Wayne County was $83,979. This year, we will pay $85,659. This was part of the 2-year agreement that we had made with the county commissioners related to the prosecutorial services. And again, since this has already been approved by us previously, I would motion that we adopt Resolution 2022-05.
Okay. Motion to adopt by Mr. Sanders. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sylvester. Any discussion? We enter into an agreement with them on a regular basis because they can do it for a lot less than if we would hire a full-time prosecutor, which we've explored, and it'd be a lot more expensive than what we're paying the Wayne County for prosecution services. Seeing nothing further, will you please call the roll on the motion to adopt?
Resolution number 20, oh, my gosh, just a moment, please.
Hey,
Roll call.
hey, you're all of a sudden human there, Mr. Paulo.
Silvestri,
Yes.
Warden,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Cavan,
Yes.
Knappich,
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
And Sanders.
Yes.
Resolution number 2022-05 passes. Resolution number 2022-06, it will be presented by Ms. Warden. It is a budgeted item. Before I get to you, Ms. Warden, I will ask Mr. Paulo to, in this case, read the
You
title.
want me to read the title?
Yeah, would you please? Hey, usually I'm the one that commits those faux pas, and you have to reel me back in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Resolution number 2022-06, a resolution authorizing the Director of Administration to advertise according to law and enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder for the reconstruction of a portion of Melrose Drive and allowing for immediate enactment.
Ms. Warden, the floor is yours.
Thank you. This is, could almost be considered the second part of the first resolution that I introduced earlier this evening. This resolution authorizes the city to advertise and enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder for the Melrose Drive reconstruction project, which this spans just north of Milltown Road up to the Smithville Western intersection. In 2021, council passed a resolution acknowledging the need for this project, and since that time, all of the necessary rights-of-way have been obtained and all assessments have been calculated. An estimated breakdown of the cost for this project are as follows: $500,000 from OPWC, $200,000 from the Water Fund, $360,000 from the Sanitary Fund, $850,000 from the Stormwater Fund, $1,393,286 from Capital Improvements Fund, $556,714 from property owner assessments, and this is an estimated grand total of $3,860,000 on this project. As you can tell, this is a large investment for our city's infrastructure, and I think it's important that we get it out to bid as soon as possible so as not to impede progress. We've all had reasonable amount of time, at least those of us who've been on council for a little while now, to discuss this project. So I would like to ask Ms. Knappich and Mr. Reynolds, do you have any comments that you'd like to make on this? Otherwise, I plan to move this
It's
forward this evening.
budgeted.
Oh, it is budgeted, so,
Sorry.
never mind.
They
Don't-
still can make comments, but I would appreciate a motion.
We don't want to hear it, though.
Okay, now it's, I know, it's like a new council member.
I think that's a throwdown, so.
I feel like it's beating a dead horse. We've talked about this so much, but I do wanted to at least ask your opinions on it. But, yeah, we're going to move to adopt the resolution.
All right, motion to adopt by Ms. Warden. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Silvestri. Now we can have.
Now we can talk to, doesn't matter what you have to say, but.
I like the fact that it's going to widen the road somewhat, fill in the narrow ditches and things like that. I think that's probably a really good part to mention.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and this road really, really needs it badly. It's in bad shape from Milltown to Smithville Western.
And you know, with snow and stuff, having seen a ambulance from another township and a mail truck go into a ditch on my street because there was so much snow in it that they couldn't tell that it was a deep void, you know, with school bus going up and down there with our children. I think this is a great project.
Yep.
Seeing nothing else, would you please call the roll on the motion to adopt?
Warden,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Cavan,
Yes.
Knappich,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Sanders,
Yes.
Silvestri.
Yes.
Resolution number 2022-06 passes. That brings us to resolution number 2022-07. It'll be presented by Mr. Silvestri. This too is budgeted. Before we get to you, Mr. Silvestri, Mr. Paulo, would you please read the title of the legislation?
Resolution number 2022-07, a resolution authorizing the Director of Administration to advertise according to law and enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder for the replacement of the water line on Giffen Drive and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Silvestri, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So there is an aging 2-inch galvanized water line on Giffen Drive, and if you're not close to that area, you may not be familiar with where that is, but it is across the street and slightly south of the main entrance to what used to be called the OARDC and is now the Ohio State University campus within our city. So I just want to thank our city engineer for having his staff do all the design, construction, administration, and inspection for this project. We're not only upgrading the line from a galvanized to a ductile iron, but we're also jumping all the way from a 2-inch diameter to an 8-inch diameter pipe. We are replacing all 9 water services and 2 fire hydrants along that area. And so this is budgeted out of our water fund. So as Councilman Reynolds made reference to his project not coming out of the general fund, nor does this. And I hereby move for adoption this evening.
All right, motion to adopt by Mr. Silvestri. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Warden. Any further discussion? Seeing none, would you please call the roll on the motion to adopt?
Reynolds?
Yes.
Knappich?
Yes.
Cavan?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Sanders?
Yes.
Silvestri?
Yes.
And Warren.
Yes.
Resolution number 2022-07 passes. Our last piece of legislation for this evening is resolution number 2022-08. It'll be presented by Mr. Cavan, and I point out it is budgeted. Before I get to you, Mr. Cavan, for the last time, Mr. Paulo, would you please read the title of this legislation?
Resolution number 2022-08, a resolution authorizing the Director of Administration to purchase 3 Ford Interceptors for use as police cruisers.
Mr. Cavan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, this is a budgeted expense, as you had mentioned. We routinely replace police cruisers yearly. This request is for 3 Ford Interceptors. It would include graphics for the vehicle. I believe they're a newer body style, so there would be a few more things that would need to be purchased. I did speak with Chief Fisher, and the estimated cost of $147,500. Should it not exceed that, then it would be put back into the fund. But again, this is something that we routinely replace. We can't replace every cruiser every year or every 3 years all at once, so we incrementally purchase them, usually 2, 3 at a time. So that's what is before us this evening. And I would ask if anyone has any questions or comments.
Well, why don't you make a motion, and then we can open it up for discussion.
Okay. I would make a motion that we adopt Resolution 2022-08.
All right, motion to adopt by Mr. Cavan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Myers. Now, any comments, questions? Well, I know I've said this for a number of years, but I think it's important that we give our police department the best equipment possible, and these vehicles get hard use just by sitting, and that the number of miles might not be high, but the number of hours on those engines are high. Plus, they're just wear and tear from being on the street with the salt and everything else. And like I said, there's nothing that makes a bad impression on me when I go to a municipality and especially see the police cruisers look like they just came out of a junkyard. And, We have a great police department, and I'm glad we can provide good equipment and good vehicles for them to drive.
The other thing I would add is that the 3 vehicles that are being replaced are going to be sold on government.com deals, gov deals. So,
Anything further? Seeing none, would you please call the roll on the motion to adopt?
Knappich,
Yes.
Cavan,
yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Sanders,
Yes.
Silvestri,
Yes.
Warden,
Yes.
and Reynolds.
Yes.
Resolution number 2022-08 passes. Well, maybe when we get, in the spring, and we get these, you can show one off, because we've yet to see anything from the fire department, you know. Kurt Denning brought in a dump truck. You could bring in the cruiser, and maybe we'll finally shame Chief Saley into showing off his new ladder, which is at least 1.5 years old.
Keep me in the rankings of both Chief Saley and Patrick.
Yeah. Anyways, thanks, Chief. Okay, we have the public portion of miscellaneous. I'll remind you, you have 2 minutes to speak. First person to sign up is Linda Houston. Please take the lectern, state your name and address, and you can have 2 minutes.
You people probably already know my name and my address, but it's Linda Houston, 1823 Burbank Road for the last 55 years. I just want to mention that what happened in Minneapolis in the last 2 days is something that we are also concerned about in terms of policy. There was a no-knock warrant. They came into a house. There was a man sleeping with a gun who had the right to have that gun, and he was shot. He was an African-American man, and we still need to be dealing with those issues. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Linda Smith.
Right, I want to thank you again for allowing me to speak tonight. I have, first of all, I want to add express my appreciation to and commend the city street maintenance department for cleaning our streets so quickly and thoroughly following last week's snowfall. But the reason I'm here tonight is to remind you of the community meeting planned for this coming Thursday, February 10th. You may recall I announced this meeting last fall, and in case you forgot to put it on your calendar when we switched to the new year, I want to personally invite you to participate in this meeting on Thursday. At this time, we're going to be hearing from our local housing experts. Krista Kidney is the Director of the Housing Services for 180 and also the Chairperson of the Worcester Housing Coalition. And Deborah Catlett is Deputy Director of the Wayne Metropolitan Housing Authority. And Reverend Dr. Kevin Franklin is pastor of the Trinity UCC Church. And they'll be sharing their insights and ideas gleaned from their years of experiences and giving us some ideas about what are some things that need to be addressed. In addition, we'll have representatives from various public and social service agencies as well as law enforcement agencies on hand to talk about specific issues and answer questions in more detail if that's needed. Questions have already been solicited from the general public so that they've been collated into categories so that we can maintain an order and continuity and have more efficient presentation. It's our hope that this meeting, the community will help, the meeting will help the people of the community of Worcester better understand the plight of our neighbors who are living in inadequate and sometimes unsafe conditions in the city of Worcester. Thank you, and I hope you're able to join us.
Thank you. All right, now it's council's turn. We'll just start with Mr. Reynolds.
All I'd say again to echo the comments earlier is we had a lot of snow in the last 4 days, and it wore me out just taking care of our own places. And hats off to the administration and your team for all the work they did. In anticipation, I guess, that's the beauty, is everybody saw this one coming, so they had the opportunity to kind of plan this out, and was really impressed by the planning that went into it and then the execution.
Ms. Knappich.
Yes, I'd like to echo my thanks to the administration, but I'd really like to give my thanks to the people who are boots on the street. They were out there shoveling, plowing, hours and hours at a time. The snow kept coming down. They were out there shoveling and plowing hours and hours at a time. They did an excellent job, and they're to be highly commended. So thank you very much to the administration, and thank you to those city employees who were boots on the ground doing the hard work, because I know I wasn't out there doing the hard work. So, yeah, thank you to them. I'd also like to say I'm looking forward to voting on the TIF amendment. I think that is the TIF ordinance. I think that is a really, really good thing moving forward for the city. I think that what we're doing is putting things out in the right formula and the right planning stages to make sure that we can open up an area to economic development that's never been opened up before, and to housing in particular, because that's so necessary. And I want to thank the administration, and particularly Jonathan Millay, for doing such a great job on that project. I think it's great that we're going to be working with the county and the school system to work on this, that it's going to be a benefit to all of us, both, all three of us, the city, the county, and the school district. So I'm looking forward to more discussion on that, and I'm looking forward to that moving forward. And I would encourage people to attend the Housing and Homeless meeting also, because this is something that is an issue here in the community. And I'm looking forward to hearing from all of these organizations and community representatives on Thursday evening. Thank you.
Mr. Sanders?
After that, I have nothing to add.
Okay. Mr. Myers?
I had several things, and they already covered all of them. So
All right.
thank you very much, Mr. Reynolds and Mrs. Knappich, for covering those issues. I have nothing further.
Mr. Silvestri?
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank Bill Sharon, CEO of our hospital, for all his work in putting together the annual briefing, the annual presentation that he gives to City Council. I appreciate his candid honesty and his standing up for the truth in terms of the data and what's going on. So I appreciate his dedication. Thank you.
Ms. Warden?
Thank you. I received a phone call the other day. Only one person called to say that their street hadn't been plowed yet, and they said they understood because it was a little bit off the beaten path, but they said otherwise they thought the city looked really great. I also received a phone call from a former city councilman who wanted me to encourage people to, or remind people to shovel out around their hydrants so that the fire department has easy access in the case that they might need access to your fire hydrant. So from Mr. Toposky to you, there's your friendly reminder. And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Cavan, we'll give you the last word, and good to see you this evening.
Thank you. I thought you were going to say Mr. Albright was going to suggest that everyone shovel their sidewalk.
I'm sure he would, but
But that, yeah.
He was
that too.
thinking it.
Oh, I'm sure he was.
Yeah, he was the sidewalk
Several
guy.
people. But other than that, I did want to, I wasn't here last meeting, but I did want to welcome Ms. Barb Knappich back to council, and Mr. Craig Reynolds, welcome. Thank you.
Bob Reynolds.
I'm sorry, I had you and
Take this down.
Craig cross. Sorry,
there is a Craig on that side. But
Okay.
There you go.
Well, I see Mr. Silvestri's motioning to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second of just about everyone. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.